What is the real political impact of Ida Odinga's recent bombshell that she knows nothing about a burial in 72 hours clause in the late Raila's will?
This latest revelation from the widow of Raila Amolo Odinga has left many Kenyans in shock. Now, I want us to pay very close attention to the way this information was delivered to Kenyans, because I believe it is very instructive and it tells us a lot about our current politics, and especially how the Raila family is carefully, intricately playing its politics. Mama Ida Odinga was playing host at her current home. People had come to say pole to her over the passing on of her late husband, Raila, and she said many things. But then, in the middle of her speech, she delivered, let it slip, almost casually, that, oh, by the way, in fact, this thing of the will saying that Raila was supposed to be buried in 72 hours, it took me by surprise. Aye. Now, we all know your spouse is supposed to know everything about you, especially if you are ailing. And therefore, we can rule out the possibility that Raila secretly planned to sneak this thing into his will without the knowledge of his wife. That one we can rule out quickly, which means it must have come from somewhere else, which means it was not Raila's wish. It was not in Raila's will, which of course Ida has to be very familiar with.
Ida Odinga has never been a politician, and she has never held any elective post. How can you then suggest that she is playing politics? Can you give us some examples that Kenyans can relate to?
If you're trying to lie to yourself even for a minute that Ida Odinga, the widow of Raila Odinga, is not a politician, please throw that thought out of your mind very quickly, because you're wrong. Okay? Ida and Raila were always very close. We have a lot of evidence of Ida interfering, or rather participating aggressively in the internal politics of ODM when Raila was still very much alive. Over the years, for decades, she has been a very influential political factor within ODM. Yeah, always chini ya maji, always in the background, but she has been there. And therefore, she understands politics. And more importantly, she understands Raila Odinga, the political guru. She totally understands his tactics, his moves, the moves that did not work, the moves that worked. She's actually an extension of Raila Amolo Odinga still alive. It is very important for us to grasp that fact. And in my opinion, this was very clearly displayed in the manner in which she delivered this key information that has taken many Kenyans by surprise. That is evidence, more than enough evidence, that she is a politician above everything else.
Very interesting indeed. So according to you, what is the political game being played here? What is the strategy being used?
It should be clear by now that the Odingas are all playing their politics in the same way, very consistently, and all reading from the same script. Okay? Starting with the mantra, never let your opponents know what you're thinking. Never let your opponents even start to guess what you're going to do, or what you're planning to do, or what you're already doing. Okay? Very key, very important. We have covered this in a previous video on this channel. That principle is in the laws of power. That principle is in the textbook my late political lecturer really insisted on, Mario Puzo's bestseller, The Godfather. Never let anybody outside the family know what you're thinking. Never ever. Don Corleone, the Godfather himself, repeatedly said to his family. In the recent interview on Citizen TV, Winnie Odinga said some very nice things about her uncle, Odinga. She said some very nice things about President Ruto. But then in the same interview, she revealed the evil plan by some powerful people, yeah, to frustrate her and to frustrate the ODM party and what the ODM party has always stood for. Yeah, a clear contradiction. Because there is no way you can remove those powerful people she was praising, yeah, from this criticism she later uttered of people who are against her and against the ODM party. Mama Ida Odinga in a speech, yeah, revealed that she was not aware of this being buried within 72 hours order in Raila's will. But then in the same speech, she praised the head of state. She thanked the head of state for the support to the family. Now, you make your own judgment on that. Isn't that two people from the same family reading from the same script? Yeah? Or what do you think?
I don't think my opinion on this matters. Anyway, I need to ask, what is the objective here? What kind of results are the Odingas looking for, politically?
Well, there was already a very clear message there. And the message is, we as a family are not in control. We are not in control of some of the factors surrounding the burial of the late Raila Odinga. In other words, there are people trying to manipulate us. There are people who have manipulated us. Now, just imagine for a minute. How would all those die-hard supporters, die-hard fans of the late Raila Odinga respond to this information? Because we know they were not happy when they were told that Raila had ordered he must be buried within 72 hours. They were very unhappy about that part, allegedly, of Raila's will. They complied, but they complied reluctantly, shingo upande, as we say in this part of the world. And therefore, how do you think they're going to react when they now discover that actually, even the widow, somebody who was so close to the late Raila, was not aware of it? And therefore, casting doubt, yeah, as to whether Raila really said this, as to whether Raila really left such instructions anywhere, how do you think they're going to react? They're going to react with a lot of anger. They're going to react with a lot of animosity towards the government. That should be clear.
Should we expect any backlash from the government on this? Will Ida Odinga be attacked by politicians allied to the government, as is usually the case in Kenyan politics?
The way this information was delivered, nobody is going to hold Ida Odinga to account. Nobody is going to try even to start blaming her. Why? She was just talking. She casually expressed her feelings. Some information came out, but it just came out. Yeah, she was just talking. I'm sure you get what I'm trying to say. Let us not forget that Raila Odinga was very good at planting seeds and then allowing his supporters to pick up the ball and run with it. Oh, yes. And what has happened in this instance is that a seed has been planted, Raila style.
You did not fully answer my question earlier. Where is the Raila family going with this? What is the end game here?
Well, there's only one place: political confrontation. And that is what we should expect. That is what we should anticipate in the days and weeks to come. Very shocking, very scary. Now, I want to give you a heads up on my very latest special report. If you hold the Kumekucha golden key, it should be in your inbox, okay? And in this red hot special report titled Rigging Plans for 2027 Presidential Elections Are Complete, and how they could be frustrated because of certain political factors that are unfolding very rapidly, yeah, both locally and abroad. This is a very revealing special report that you must have if you want to understand what is going to unfold very shortly in our dear motherland. And it is not a good thing. Okay? Now you can see details on your screens right now. For only Kenya shillings 3,999, you can be able to get this highly sensitive special report. And I will also throw in case you missed it, yeah, because it's still very relevant. In fact, today it is becoming more and more relevant every day. My special report on exactly how Raila Odinga was assassinated. Okay? Please move with speed. This particular offer will not be available for very long. Yeah? And therefore, if you're in a position to, make sure you get your hands on this, my very latest special report.